All right. Good morning to anybody who is joining us live and anybody who will be joining us after the fact. We are excited to have you on another stream with us. I'm Chelsea Parkinson. I'm the Director of Coaching at PPCaDI. And I'm really excited today because the two panelists that I have with me are here to talk to you about being a positively diverse leader. It's a 3-day program that is the blood, sweat, and tears of our organization, everything that is so important to us about who we are and why we do what we do, which is coaching and diversity, and put together in this beautiful 3-day package to help leaders become the positively diverse leader. But I don't want to steal these ladies' thunder to talk about what a PDL is. So I'm going to pass it over to them to introduce themselves. And I'm going to stop talking.
Well, all right. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Shakira Lynn Stevens, the Director of Training at PPCaDI. I typically coach from the intersection of biology, psychology, and theology with a little bit of DEI sprinkled in there. So I'm so happy that you all are here. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have. Cynthia?
Hey, everybody. My name is Cynthia Jones, and I've been in the talent management space for about 15 years. I've had the opportunity to partner with these wonderful folks at PPCaDI to help put together this really matrixed program that helps bring together all of the key elements that leaders need in order to lead through these days and times of life, living through a pandemic, living through all sorts of change and uncertainty. And we put together something that I think is really going to help leaders be able to feel empowered. And that jazzes me up. I love to see people be better. And I understand that leaders really are the catalyst in any organization. And so this will help sharpen some skills for sure.
Awesome. For sure. So Cynthia kind of mentioned this era of uncertainty, right? So we've got all kinds of stuff going on. We're in a global pandemic. We've had to utilize technology a lot more. We have people that are onboarding into our companies that we've never seen face to face, and so then we're having to deal with all of the things that are coming along with COVID-19 and all of that. And so this program is really kind of near and dear to my heart, but it's really interesting. And I love it because it's very practical, right? And so one of the things that we kind of know at any time, but certainly in this era of uncertainty, right? People want meaning and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple, right? You want to be able to do something that's meaningful, have a job that's meaningful, also be able to kind of utilize your purpose and figure out what your purpose is on a team, right? So it's really important that the people leaders kind of have an understanding of that and kind of know like, hey, how do I help this person best utilize their purpose, find meaningful work or assign meaningful work as well? How do we build bridges to that?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry. It's funny. I think what I like also about our program is that we also tap into that meaning and purpose for the leader participating in the experience, right? It's one of those things where when we are able to learn, internalize, and apply it in our own leadership, then it starts to kind of be that snowball effect. It's that multiplier effect, right? When we encapsulate it, then we're able to help others catch it too. And so leaders experience tapping into meaning and purpose, their own meaning and purpose. And then it's something that can be duplicated in their leadership. And so that practical application becomes something that is a little bit easier to get to because they have an understanding of what it looks like for them personally.
Yeah. I love that the program is designed around so much with meaning and purpose, right? Of helping people really tap into who they are, how they are, what matters to them, and how they can use all of that at work. Because so often I think those things get pitted against each other and we feel like what's really purposeful for us, what's really important to us doesn't have a home at work. So what I love about the way this program is structured is it helps leaders, like you just said, Cynthia, tap into their own meaning and purpose, but also to learn how to help their staff, their peers, even the people above them to figure out their meaning and purpose too, so that we have this really supportive structure where everybody can find their authentic self and their authentic meaning and purpose at work. Right before I popped on with you guys, I was listening to a podcast from Rich Litvin. He's a coach that I listen to pretty often. And he was talking about meaning and purpose with the pandemic. And something he brought up that I thought was so interesting, given what we were going to talk about today, is meaning and purpose is linked to survival too. So during the Vietnam War, and during World War II, there are studies that show that the survival in the internment camps was linked to survivors who could find meaning and purpose even in light of what was going on. So just to add a little bit of depth to what we're talking about, meaning and purpose really matters.
Right. And if we're honest, in generations past, we never even cared about that kind of stuff. Right. So we never asked leaders, like, what are you passionate about? What area do you want to work in? Do you want to do more of this or more of that? And I think the pandemic has kind of put us in a scenario where we've had to utilize all the skills, right? Like, what are you able to do? We have the great resignation going on. We have lots of gaps on teams, but more importantly, it's giving people the opportunity to kind of lean in to what's important to them and what matters to them. And I think when you really know that, it helps you to build better relationships, right? With the people that are in management, the people that are on the same level with you, the people that you are leading, just as a whole, helping to be people to see where their meaning and purpose aligns, but also where they are able to work together in a more cohesive way, because relationships certainly matter in the workplace.
Absolutely. It's funny. What we find is that the relationship between an individual contributor or a team member and their leader is what matters most when they think about the organization. You guys have heard the phrase that people don't leave bad organizations, they leave bad bosses. Right? So the relationship with your boss is so important. And when you really think about what leadership is, the foundation of leadership is relationship. Building followership and getting people to walk along the path of the vision requires, like Shakira, you mentioned those bridges. It requires a bridge to tap in so that you can inspire, you can motivate, you can help the person feel like they belong. The relationship is really that conduit for getting things moving along in the organization. It's all about relationships.
For sure. And sometimes in a fast-paced environment, you're so busy just trying to get the job done, meet the requirements, hit the goals, hit the outputs and the objectives, that you don't even think about the person working next to you and getting to know them, right? How do they work best? Is this, if you had two people to choose from, who can do this better, right? Like, who's more passionate about this? Many hands make light work, and that's true, but also understanding who the people are around you and what pushes them, what drives them to get a job done. Like training, that's my thing. Like, I love working with coaches, help them kind of get a better understanding of themselves so that they can figure out which best works for them. Like, what is their coaching voice? What is their coaching model and style, right? Because I'm not like Chelsea, I'm not like Cynthia, I'm not like Kiki, but I'm Shakira, and I have my own little gumbo, that works best for my clients. And I think that's one of the things that's really important, understanding that this is my neck of the woods. This is my wheelhouse. This is what I love. I've never worked a day when I've been doing training, for sure, and coaching. And that's what's really important. It gives me that drive to get up and want to work and take the ownership of my role in PCaDI to make sure that we're going as far and as fast as we could with excellence. And so that's important for positively diverse leaders as well, to know who your people are. What do they love?
Yeah. Can we talk about who the positively diverse leader is? So we have that really beautiful blurb when we facilitate this course about who the positively diverse leader is. So I just want to read it to our audience so that they kind of know how we boiled this down and what we believe the positively diverse leader to be. And then we can jump into, how do we get there? Like, what does that look like from here to there? So A positively diverse leader works in their strengths to better relate and communicate around issues of leadership and diversity, equity, and inclusion. When leaders can enhance these skills, it makes them good leaders and drives a greater sense of fulfillment and provides a psychologically safe environment for all employees. What do you guys think of that?
I think when we were, crafting that, one of the things that really pops out at me is having a psychologically safe environment. Are we safe here? That's huge. It doesn't matter who's on the team. If people don't feel safe to show up authentically, if they don't feel safe to be themselves, if they don't feel safe to be able to come to you and say, hey, I need help, I don't understand, or, maybe this isn't the right fit for me. Those are things that are kind of like taboo, in prior generations. So I think that's really important for a leader to be able to not take things personally all the time, to like just really be curious about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. What jumps out to me and what I really like about that definition of positively diverse leadership is the idea of operating in your strengths, operating from a place of authenticity. And that tells me that I can show up, not just like I am, child, because without makeup and something under this head, it's a whole different situation. But it tells me that I could show up with my skill set. I can show up with what I have, with who I am, and I can lead. Of course, I can harness, different leadership styles and skills, and I can be better, but I can show up how I am, right? And so operating from that place of strengths, operating from that place of authenticity to relate and to communicate. And, we talked a little bit just now about the importance of relationship, but then you also think about communication. Think about how much time a leader spends communicating, whether it's strategy or, simple instructions or onboarding or whatever. Communication is important. And it's more than just about showing up and having a lot to say, right? But it's about this dialogue that happens, and all of those things feed into relationship. And all of that feeds into creating a psychologically safe place where people feel like they belong. And what happens when people feel like they belong? Great. They're empowered, right? The work gets done, discretionary effort. You get all of those hidden gems that we really want, that are really the outputs that we want. And when we're able to show up from a place of strengths, it helps us to get that.
Yeah. What that always brings up for me when we talk about this piece is remembering that output and product is done by people. And we tend to forget that people are a whole unit by themselves before they even ever do the things, right? And so what PDL teaches you is how to understand the mechanism, the vehicle, which is the person, so that they can be their best self to do their best work. And we miss that mark so often, which is so interesting to me because we're always obsessed with the ROI, getting more product out, doing more. We want more from everybody. And we don't take the time to understand the vehicle itself. And every vehicle is different. And just by having this skill set of being the positively diverse leader, what you are able to make space for with your people, I think is truly the life-changing part of this work, because people do the work. The work gets done by people.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. I like that you talked about the space, because we're cultivating here. Positively diverse leaders are cultivators. They are making sure that, they are seeing strength, identifying strengths in others, right? Making sure that they are checking their own biases at the door, which is super important. But at the end, you want to cultivate an environment that pushes itself, to the ROI that you want, right? But understanding that these are people. And I think one of the things that's really important as well is being able to kind of blend the personal and the professional, because it doesn't matter what you put in place in the workspace. That person is coming into that workspace with everything that's attached to them, everything that they are, right? And so we want them to be able to show up authentically, not just so we can kind of manage the challenges that they might be bringing with them, but so that we can be aware right? And know how to help assist this person to get them back to the space where they're functioning optimally, not just for the company, but for themselves as well.
Yeah, I love that. I was hoping that we could chat a little bit about our PDL structure. So get into a little bit of the different pieces that make this a unique program, particularly our 3 different approaches that are linked in here. And then depending on time, of course, we can dive into some of the other things that make PDL what it is. But I am hoping that we can introduce our audience to why this is so powerful and why this is so different from other leadership courses that they might stumble upon.
Okay. One of the first things that I truly love with this, we're looking, this is kind of a positive psychology based model, right? And so positive psychology is really the scientific study of what goes right, what makes life worth living. You know, we're literally looking at a lot of the positives. And that doesn't mean that there's nothing in there that can be negative. We're in this cotton candy environment, right? Because there is the upside to your dark side at times. But we're looking at the psychology of what's going right within. And I think that's one of the things that is unique to this program, because the psychology is blended with the DEI and with the coaching. But if we kind of take a peek at that psychology first, we're looking at this person as a whole person, right? Like, what is going right with them? What are the things that might be challenging them from getting to that next level? So I think that's a really important piece of this program and something that makes it unique in the space of blending.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as Shakira mentioned, with positively diverse leadership, it really is an integrated framework where it rests on that positive psychology piece. And when we think about what goes right with the thing and with the person, we're also thinking about their strengths. And so when we think about how one can operate authentically, what better place to start than with strengths? And other components of positive psychology. And then in that integrated framework, we bring in coaching, right? Coaching. I like, Chelsea, that you said that the people are the vehicles, and they are. And when you think about what can a leader do with those vehicles, with that, with those people and with that talent, coaching is one of the skills and techniques that helps to empower the talent, so that the talent can realize its value and realize that it has an approach to a solution. The coaching piece to me says to the leader that the leader doesn't have to have all of the answers. I know, shocking. In prior eras of leadership, leaders feel like you have to come to the table with all of the answers. But given this day and age and what is really going on in the environment, that isn't possible. And so what is possible, though, is enabling and empowering the staff, empowering the people who are going to help us get the outcomes. And we do that through coaching. It's a partnered approach. All of the relationship and relatability, it comes through that coaching piece. And so our integrated framework consists of the positive psychology, the coaching, and we always have a lens to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We talked a little bit about creating an environment where everybody feels safe, where everyone feels like they belong and they matter there. And having a lens with, diversity, equity, and inclusion is important to enable that.
Right. Sure. And I think, speaking to the part about DEI, we know that diverse teams are smarter. Research has shown that, right? We have different backgrounds. We were raised differently. We come from different socioeconomic backgrounds. There were some people that had a lot of access, right? And some people that didn't. But at the end of the day, both of those sides of that coin brings value to the team, right? And so whether we're looking at socioeconomic status, whether we're looking at, people that are married, people that are unmarried, people that are Black, white, Asian, what have you, right? All of the backgrounds come to the foreground to help us better cultivate and make bridges, build bridges, right? Especially as we're working in teams, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What always stands out for me when you guys are talking about the PDL model and how all the pieces come together is it really allows for perspective without asking people to get it. And that is my favorite part, specifically as a white coach. What stands out for me with PCaDI's approach and therefore PDL's approach to diversity is we're not asking people to be able to jump into someone else's shoes. Because the idea of that, I'll never get it. I will never be Black and therefore will never understand being Black. And I love that our approach is you don't have to understand that part. That's not the part that has to click for you. The part that we are helping leaders is the awareness of what that's like, because underneath it all, we all have access to the same emotional palette. And so experiences are about how they made us feel. And I love that the kind of like circle that we draw around all of this is you don't have to get it, but you can understand that this thing that happened to this person had this emotional link to it. I can understand fear. I can understand anxiety. Maybe I don't understand why that thing made you feel that way, but I can relate at that point. And I think that is such a light bulb moment for so many leaders, because there's a lot of pressure. I'm a chief of staff, so I feel a lot of pressure sometimes to get what my staff is going through. Some of them are 10 years younger than I am. My ability to get it, sometimes not there, but I don't have to get what they're going through to get what they're going through. And I really appreciate that we have folded that through all of the edges of this program to help take the pressure off the leader from a get it standpoint, but really give them the accountability to learn how to connect with that person at those baser levels.
Yeah. And not having to get it gives us the space to check our biases as well. Yeah. Because when people think they have to get it, it's like, well, you don't understand what I'm going through. And it's just like, but I can understand. Like you said, I can understand fear. I can understand feeling disenfranchised. And so I think when we're able to look at ourselves, turn the mirror back to ourselves and figure out, well, why do I have an issue with a person that lives this lifestyle? Or why do I have an issue with a person that's from this cultural background? Why do I have an issue with this or that? I think society has kind of taught us that we have to either get it or like it to understand and support a person that is living a certain thing. And that's just not true. That's just not true. We can respect all people and respect our differences, which is really important. And one of my hot button moments that I had when I was doing the training, I kind of told them, hey, if you're not able to check your biases at the door, leadership might not be for you, because you don't get to really choose who you lead. And if you are choosing people who you lead based on your biases, now we're looking at discrimination. Now we're getting in trouble with company, which is really important as well.
I love that. If you can't check your bias, maybe leadership is not for you.
And that piece, being able to check your biases, comes with taking a minute to unplug from the fray of the day-to-day whirlwind that is known as life, right? That we all experience, especially inside of organizations. There's always something that is urgent. There's always something that is important. Typically, there's a fire, there's a whirlwind. And what I love about this program is it gives leaders 3 days to unplug from that. And it gives them an opportunity to hold up a mirror, because we do a lot, like in that positive psychology space, we also get into understanding the feelings based on what we believe. And so we hold up a mirror to ourselves in the program, and it gives leaders a chance to see, okay, where might there be, hidden biases, or where might I have other feelings associated? And what I love in the class is we say that bias isn't, a 4-letter word, a bad 4-letter word, right? We understand that we're humans, leading humans. And so bias to some degree is innate, but it doesn't mean that we have to get stuck in them and make decisions systematically that stem from them. And so we hold up the mirror to ourselves, and we give leaders an opportunity to really check in to see, okay, what are my thoughts? How are my thoughts influencing my feelings? How are my feelings and influencing my actions, right? And to really intentionally pause and check in. Because in the day-to-day living experience, you don't have a chance to pause and check in. And so we want leaders to get in the habit of feeling what that feels like, of thinking about it and being intentional about their thinking. Because if they're intentional, then they can make changes, right?
And PDL also allows leaders to not have to be that lone eagle on the perch either, because you're going to come into the PDL program for 3 days with other people that are leading at your level. Yes. Right. And so you get to have conversations with people in different industries. You're going to be talking to people that are leading diverse teams as well. And so you get to kind of bounce these ideas and ultimately understand that you're not by yourself in some of these challenges that you're having and some of the ways that things are showing up at work. These leaders are leading through a pandemic as well. Some of these leaders are trying to figure out the digital world and how that works. These leaders are dealing with ageism, sexism, classism, all of those things as well. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's probably one of the most important parts of the PDL program is that you're not coming in to just sit with coaches. You are coming in to work through these different lenses with people that are just like you.
Yes. And we would never ask you to do anything we haven't done ourselves. So having been through the PDL program as a participant, I can say that even though I am a coach, it's a very eye-opening experience and a really supportive way to examine your belief systems. And there's a couple of key words that we've said over the last almost 30 minutes here that I think if you're on the fence about wanting to kind of confront your belief systems, is that we do it from a curious standpoint. There's never any judgment in your belief systems because belief systems are shaped by so many things that you don't always even know where they came from. And that's not even necessarily important, but they exist. Society, family, learned, all of the things that have happened to you up until that point in time. And I really appreciate that we've created an environment that allows you to say, this belief system, it exists. I accept that I have believed this until this point. And then to get curious about how it serves you with the type of leader that you want to be, with the type of relationships that you want to build with your employees, with your own value sets. Because a lot of times our conflict comes from the fact that we've adopted belief systems that actually conflict with our intrinsic values. And we haven't taken the time, to Cynthia's point, to slow down enough to go, whoa, this thing that I believe is influencing the way that I treat people, but I don't like treating people that way because that's not a value of mine. And so what PDL gives you is the space with other people to say, I can now understand how this belief system that I've held about a type of people, about how work has to be, about who I need to be, isn't serving me. And you get a room full of other people who are also shifting the script on their belief systems too. And it's really supportive to be doing that with other people.
Yeah. And you get to choose through PDL who you want to be. You're not leaving PDL as that person that everyone said you had to be. You're not leaving PDL as the person that you've always been. You get to walk out and decide who you want to be as a leader. You get to decide how much compassion and empathy you're pouring in, how much curiosity and awareness that you're pouring in. You get to make that choice. And so in a way, it gives leaders the opportunity to sign that internal permission slip, which is something that's really important as well. And also to evaluate and be able to coach, work through your own challenges, but also coach the people that you lead, because maybe there's a role in the company that's better for them than the one that they're in, right? You empower them to seek out the place that's the best space for them. Perhaps the mission and vision of this company isn't for them, right? And so it's not a bad thing to be in a space where you can show up more authentically, but more importantly, to actually lean into and have buy-in with the company and what the company stands for. There's no battle to stay in place.
Yeah. It's breaking through belief systems, right? It's that like wrecking ball of let me build this the way I want it to be built. Somebody else can build it their way. However, this way that it's been built, if I knock it all down and I just have a fresh start, how would I build it? Who would I be? How would I design myself as a leader. And I think having gone through it, and I've been reviewing our surveys and the feedback from people in the course, and something that's really ringing true to me is that choice piece, Shakira, that you just brought up. People don't realize they get to have a choice in who they are as a leader, because there's leadership profiles and there's a lot of trainings telling you the type of leader you should be or need to be. There's not a lot of trainings like this that say, who do you want to be as a leader? How do we get there? Let's design something that's authentic and aligned for you. And I think what people are realizing is that it is very possible, first of all, to be the leader you want to be and be in your existing organization. Those don't have to be conflictual. Or that if your organization does not support the leader you want to be, there are many that will. And you don't have to stay stuck in something that isn't aligned with you. There's no reason for that. It doesn't make sense for anyone.
Right.
That's so powerful. I love how you say shift the script. That is incredible. And I think given this day and age, we started this conversation off with getting into the idea of this era of uncertainty, right? And the truth is how it's been done, there's a tremendous room for opportunity in doing things different. And if I'm just honest and transparent, some of the way that things have been done just simply will not work in this environment. It won't work for where we are, though some of the a little bit more antiquated approaches to leadership as one who has all power, all authority, and all of the answers, and we're going to go for it this way, that doesn't work. And so leaders have to show up differently. And I think what I love is creating the space for them to examine it, unplug, get with other leaders, and really see, like, in a safe place. Like, we talk about psychological safety, in leadership environments, but our environment is also safe. It's a safe place to really open yourself up and take a look at what's underneath the hood, right? What's there, and is what's there what I want to be there? And then having the power to say, I want something different.
Yeah. You know what I love a lot that you two did in the pilot that we did a couple of months ago was really everything that you demonstrated to help us create the space that we needed to have in our own cohort were things that leaders could then take back to their teams, right? Even something like co-creating, which for anybody who isn't familiar, co-creating is the process of making agreements that your group agrees to so that you can operate with psychological safety, with honesty, with authenticity, and to know that you're creating a container that you can do your best work and make the most progress. And what I love about the structure of PDL is that everything that is in there can then be taken and out into your space. So it isn't just a training where what your trainers are doing is just for you to receive. It's also for you to take and to shape for exercises and for application with your own organizations. And I think that is so powerful because you get to watch how it happens in this group of people in your cohort. And then you also can think about, well, what would it be like to co-create agreements with my team? What would it be like to do an access walk with my team so that we could get to understand where everybody's coming from a little bit better? So for me, that's another layer. This isn't just, hey, come to PDL, learn how to communicate better. All of those things are super important, but we've also provided a framework for people to have immediately applicable things to use.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you're speaking to, Chelsea, is really the vulnerability that's required to co-create for leaders and the people that they lead. We've kind of like seen leadership as, the person that's out front leading the charge, has to know all the answers, don't show any weakness, can't say, I don't know. That doesn't help the team move forward, right? You have smart people on the team that might have an answer or a better way to do a thing if you allow it, right? And so leaders are not required to be who they used to be and not understand and not know, right? Because those are things that hinder the team. But those are also things that hinder the mental health of the leader, right? You come home from wearing a mask for 8 to 12 hours a day. how do you even know who you are when you get back home? Right? That's why authenticity is such an important part of this, and being able to be vulnerable and say, hey, this is where I need you to show up. This is my skill set. This is your skill set. This is how I feel this can work together. It pops us right back to the curiosity and the awareness of who's on the team.
Yeah. There's just so many important concepts that if you root yourself in them, what I like about the concepts that we use, in particular the principles, is they give you a place to start when maybe you don't know, or you're telling yourself you don't know. Starting with curiosity, starting with awareness. There isn't a single one of them that you couldn't go, okay, I'm feeling a little bit uncertain about how I want to show up in this moment as a leader. Let me think about what these things are that I have at my disposal and what that would look like for me. And I love that it's so individualized, because, you know, for me as a leader in a moment reaching for acceptance, that might look different than either one of you reaching for acceptance in the moment. But knowing that we all have access to those principles to rely on when we might be feeling uncertain about a way forward, it provides a stability that I think a lot of leaders don't have right now, because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to make your employees happier. Retention is certainly an issue right now. DEI, there are so many things that you are required to have to pay attention to all of the time, that it probably feels a little bit like a conveyor belt that's going too quickly. And like, you can't actually, reminds me of the I Love Lucy episode, you know, where they're like stuffing the chocolates everywhere because they can't keep up. I can imagine that leadership right now feels like that. So knowing that actually you have a brake pedal and you can slow it down and you can choose curiosity or acceptance or awareness or understanding. There are these principles that you can say, all right, I don't have to get it all right all the time, but I know that I have something to start with. To me, there's a sense of calm in knowing that I have tools to reach for in my toolkit, even if I don't know exactly how they're going to fix the problem. They're going to give me a way to start.
Yeah. And once a leader understands what their personal challenges are, they get to take action on those as well.
Right.
This is not just you reaching out to the people that you lead and kind of helping them get themselves in order. This thing works on you first. It works on the leader first. What is my why for being here? What is my why for believing what I believe, right? Are you holding something that you learned 50 years ago to be true and self-evident, and it's just not here now, right? So I tend to work with, as a faith leader, I tend to work with people that are younger, people that are older. And one of the things that we're learning is that each end of the spectrum and everyone in between has something to add, right? And so some people have the wisdom, some people have the know-how and the knowledge to work the tech. You know, some people are in between. They have different experiences that might help you to better cultivate. And it's so important that we lean into all people. We don't have to throw anything out, even though we're moving into this technology realm. We don't have to toss anything out that was prior. All of that stuff is still important.
And I like to think, when I think about leadership, what I often tell leaders who I have a chance to coach or teach is, I think it boils down, if I could give you 3 things for you to just really sink your teeth into: intentionality, mindfulness, and the ability to adjust, right? Because Shakira, just as you mentioned, you have these different, like on the continuum, you have leaders of people who are just at all points on that, right? And so what the leader has to do is they have to be able to make adjustments. But it's really tough to make adjustments if you aren't sure what needs to be adjusted. And so really spending time in that reflective space before, and I really think that is a benefit to this program, because other leadership models and leadership styles give you the answer. You know, it's this process every day, all day moving forward. This is how you do it, versus really giving you a chance to be more reflective on how you approach things, specifically what you believe and what you hold true. right? And how those beliefs are impacting your actions. And this program gives you a chance to just be really reflective and look at all of those different things. So you understand how you show up, you understand how you can make adjustments so that you can build relatability and communicate effectively with every person on that continuum. Understanding how to find points of relatability, how to communicate through even challenges and other issues of leadership, right? Understanding yourselves helps you be able to be in position to not only understand other people, but connect with them.
Right. I think it's the teach. Oh, sorry, Shakira, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think what's unique about the approach and the way that you all have structured the program is it's the teach a man to fish model. We're going to give you a lot of tools and tell you how to use them, but we're not going to use them for you or tell you which tools go with which tools when. That's all going to be an intrinsic creative process where you look at everything that you came away with from PDL and know that you always have a menu of choices and you can choose from the menu. There's no wrong or right answers, but we can't order for you.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of leads right into what I was going to say. In seminary, they used to tell us when someone tells you something important, don't drop the baby bird, right? Don't just be like, okay, next topic, right? So even though we were coming out of PDL, we're not telling you what to pick off the menu and how to use it. We are able to come in and help to coach with your leaders, right? So we don't just leave you hanging, if you decide that you want to either send your team to PDL or you want us to come in. And I think that's one of the great things about PCaDI, because we are a diversity company, but we also have a very diverse set of coaches, which is great. Different backgrounds, different industries. And so we can really kind of touch a lot of different things, which I think is really important.
Yeah. We have, what I love about our current structure of offerings is that there's ways to reach everyone in your organization in different ways to support, whatever objectives it is that your organization is looking for. PDL is a wonderful program and a great place to start, but the methodology and the structure of PDL is reflective of our company writ large. So everything that you find in PDL shows up in different ways and magnitudes throughout everything else that we offer. So I love that you will find all of these criteria and ideas, which was why we built PDL the way that we did. And we took our time and really made sure all of the bits and pieces of who we are as a company and how we show up in our one-on-one coaching, in our DEI program, in our group coaching, in our leadership programs. Everything that we do has the elements that we've unpacked on this call today. And PDL is a great place to start, or even to add, to your menu of leadership offerings. But as Carolyn mentioned, PDL is a start. And there's so much that you can do with coaching and with our DEI program and with diving deeper into who you are as an organization and who you want to be. So with PDL, I want to make sure that our audience and anybody who checks out our stream at a later date knows we have offerings in July, September, and November this year, and they're filling up quickly. So you want to be sure that if you are interested in participating or you have more questions, that you reach out and let us know, because we love to talk about this program. We've been talking about it for almost 45 minutes right now, and we're always happy to answer questions. And as Shakira and I just mentioned, we have a bunch of other offerings too. So if becoming positively diverse, better communicators, relating better, getting more belonging into your organization are things that feel important to you, we love to talk about what we do because we love what we do. And so there's something for everybody on our roster. And we do have an amazing, diverse bench of coaches. So this is just a smattering of who we are, but we have a lot to offer. So check out our website, which is www.pcadi.com if you're interested in seeing our coaches, because everybody's listed there for you to take a peek at, and our offerings are there. So lots of stuff to see there. All of our socials, we are on the socials. We're on Instagram and YouTube. So we have lots of really great videos that our coaches have recorded about a lot of the things we've talked about today. why, curiosity, belonging, meaning, and purpose. So if you're interested in understanding a little bit more about how we feel about those concepts and why we think they're important, go check out our socials to listen to us chat a little bit more about these things. So before we wrap up, what do you really want the people to know about PDL?
Cynthia, would you like to go first?
I'll go ahead and jump in. What I like the people to know about positively diverse leadership is not only do you walk away with an understanding, but we give you an opportunity in class to practice. That's the part that I really like, because as Chelsea and Shakira mentioned, you'll walk away with different tools. We'll talk about different strategies and different skill sets that are required in our principles, right? But you really have a chance to apply what you learned in the class. We work through different scenarios, and then we even devote a really, really big block of time for you to practice what you've learned in the class. So you don't have to feel like it's one of those one and done things where you come to class and you hope to get it and that's it. We give you a chance to apply what you've learned. We give you a chance to also walk away with a 90-day action plan to say, okay, well, how am I going to actualize this content into my everyday leadership experience? The perk is you will have a chance to, learn from some of the powerful PPCaDI coaches, and you'll have a chance to start putting together your action plan with other leaders in the room, and you'll get a chance to talk about it and get insight and feedback around what it is that you want to do and how. And I really think, to me, the best part of this experience is the community piece. And when I say community, I mean your fellow leaders who are in the class experience, but also your facilitators, because these PPCaDI coaches are sharp and just as caring and compassionate and focused on you getting it, as we've talked about in this experience just on the call today. But they're really focused on helping you to get it. And so you'll walk away with that sense of community, with a 90-day action plan, with the ability to really actualize what you've learned. And you can put these things into practice. So this isn't a one and done kind of experience. You will walk away with something you can apply to your leadership.
Yeah. If there was anything I could leave y'all with, it's that this isn't a team and leadership changing program. It's not just for that. This is also a life changing program. And so this is something that you can take back to your team, but this is also something that you can utilize for your own personal day-to-day. This is something that you can carry with you. And I think what's really important as well is that once you complete PDL, you have your 90-day action plan. We do the 90-day checkup, but you will also have access to our leadership community. Right. And so you'll be able to plug in with other leaders that'll continue to be added as they complete PDL from around the world, right, that are going through this program. And every 90 days, we check in. What's going right? What do you need assistance with, right? So we're not going to drop the baby bird. But if I can leave you with anything, it would be that this will be life changing and not just team and company changing. So I would definitely encourage you to invest in yourself and, take this dive. Come check us out with PDL. Let's work through some things.
Yeah. And if you resonated with the three of us, you can join Carolyn and I in July. We will be heading up that cohort. We're super excited. We've loved this program. It's our baby. We're so excited to be putting it out into the world. I hope that you've enjoyed hearing us talk about this program and what becomes possible when you become a positively diverse leader. And I think that's what I would leave you with, is to think about what becomes possible for you when you can step into that authentic place of leadership and really be the kind of leader that you want to be. And as Carolyn said, this is not just your leadership approach. We know leadership is important and we want to focus there, but you are yourself as a leader. And so the things that you will take away from PDL will truly alter your thinking and your feeling and your behaviors, which will touch every facet of your life. So even if you're thinking, oh, this is only for my leadership, no, this is going to change the way that you view yourself in relationship with all of the different facets of your life. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Shakira and Cynthia, for hopping on with me today so we could talk about PDL, to explain to the people what we're putting out in space so they can come and join us. As always, it's been a pleasure to be out here talking about what we do at PPCaDI. And if you have any questions, make sure that you look us up on our website. And until we meet again next month, thank you all for spending your lunch hour with us.
Have a good one.
Bye.